And oh, brothers and sister Christian, we need to do the same thing. Is God love? Is God able to break into the world in ways the world could not even imagine to save the world? Go to Bethlehem. Walk the roads of Galilee. Stand at the foot of Golgotha. Go to the garden. Go to the upper room. Follow the church across the years of its failures and its sins, its horrors, and see the faithfulness of God. How is it that this old book even exists after 2,000 years of attempts to destroy it? Voltaire said, "Within 100 years of my death, no one will even know what the Bible is." Well, I guarantee you there are a lot more people today who know what the Bible is than know who Voltaire was. Hitler said, "I will wipe the Bible off the face of the earth," that Jew book. Hitler is long gone, and the Bible goes on and on. What kind of a God is he? Oh, remember, he says, don't let the gods of this world give you amnesia. Don't let the gods of this world blind your eyes to what kind of a God it is that we serve. He's the creator. He is not a part of this world. He's not ruled by its patterns and its systems. He is free. What kind of a God is he? He's the God of love and of faithfulness and of tenderness, the God who gives himself away on the cross. Oh, how we need to do that. The evidence of his character and of his nature is all around us. He is the one who can do a new thing. But then look what he says. Right after he has said, well, in fact, before he has said it, in verse 19, he says, "I'm going to do a new thing." Then he says, "But don't remember the former things." Now, wait a minute, God. You said, remember. You gave us the examples of the Red Sea and the wilderness, all your kindness. Now you say, forget it? Uh-huh. We are such idolaters. The great, great bane of the camp meeting is it's so hard for us to forget the past. I thought as we were singing, we're surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses here. I thought I could see men in high collars and coats without buttons, and ladies with long flowing dresses, and I could see the smiles of God on their faces as they walked through these aisles and looked at us. What a holy ground this is we're standing upon. There are angels all around, yes, but there are also all of those wonderful saints of the past who had problems like we have, but also who found victory like we're finding. But the problem is, that's the way God did it then. That's the way he'll always have to do it. And camp meetings all over this country have died and are dying because it's so tough to translate the quality and the truth and the character and the reality into different forms. God says, I'm going to do a new thing. Now, can't you imagine? Here is some really, really faithful person among the Jews, and all the rest are thinking out, all the rest are dropping out, And he's saying, no, no, no. Remember how God saved us. I know what God's going to do. He's going to dry up the Euphrates, and we'll walk across it dry-shod. And when we get to the other side, he's going to give us manna. And when we eat the manna, he's going to give us quail. And then he's going to give us water out of the rock. I know just how God is going to save us. And God says, guess what? I'm bored with that way. I'm the creator. I saved you that way once. Once is enough. I'm going to do it a different way this time. Is that okay? And that poor soul says, it is not okay. No, God, you have to save me the way that I've planned. You have to save me the way you did everybody else. You have to do it my way. Oh, how we idolize. Now, I hope you know me well enough. I was born conservative. And I remain conservative. I think a friend here told me about a letter which a friend of his wrote him. She is a wonderful lady. She is now in her early 80s. Just bright and sharp, and she wrote him a 17-page letter catching him up on everything that had happened in the last 35 years. And at the bottom she said, and I'm glad to tell you that every one of my children is a Republican and a Christian. My kind of lady. No, not quite. I get very jumpy when people start ditching everything in the name of newness. That's not hard. You can just sort of scrap the past and try to rewrite it. And what you'll find yourself doing is duplicating the past, only in a worse way. No, the real trick is to find and hang on to the best of the past while allowing God to do new things in us and through us on the way to the new day. God says, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take a pagan emperor named Cyrus, and he's going to come in and destroy the Babylonian Empire. And he's going to institute a brand new foreign policy. He's going to let all the captive peoples go home, and in fact, will even give them money to help them go. A pagan who doesn't even know your name? God says, that's okay. I know his name. But wait a minute, we want a Moses. No. Cyrus is my chosen one, and Cyrus is going to set you free, and Cyrus is going to rebuild Jerusalem. Now, I remind you, this had never happened before. No nation had ever gone home. So they had a hard enough time believing they were going to go home at all, and then the thought that God was going to use this pagan to let them go home, and it just blew them away. They said, no, God, you can't do it that way. And God said, why not? Well, just because you can't. And God says, I'm God. Remember? Oh, yeah, we've forgotten that for a moment. I will do a brand new thing. Oh, that's what he did with Jesus. Right. We know how you're going to save us from the rotten Romans. We got it all figured out. You're going to bring in a monster bigger than the Romans who will smash the Romans. And God says, no, you don't understand my character, do you? I'm going to bring in a baby in a barn. What? Yeah. He'll just be an ordinary little kid. Not quite ordinary. if you've got eyes to see. And he'll be an itinerant preacher. He'll have one shiny suit to his name. He'll drive around in a beat-up old school bus, and he'll be followed by 12 thugs. No, God, you don't understand. He said, where'd you get the school bus stuff? Well, you got to read between the lines. As somebody said the other day, you really have to know the Greek and the Hebrew to see that. No, I'm trying to shock you to get my point across. Jesus wasn't at all what they planned. But Jesus was a brand new thing. Jesus was the ultimate evidence of our God's creativity. Jesus was the ultimate evidence of our God's faithfulness and mercy. Jesus was the ultimate evidence that our God's not locked in. Our God is able to do new things. The only issue is, will you and I let him? Will you and I let him by believing that he can do a new thing? And will you and I let him by believing that he can do a new thing in his way, in his time, for his own glory? Oh, how often we lock God in because we're locked in. How often God is unable to do all that he wants to do in my life or yours because we cannot believe that he could ever do it any other way than he ever did it. And so we live in our narrowing circles of fear and anxiety. God can do a new thing in your life today. You say, what'll it look like? I don't know. Except I know it'll be consistent with his character. You say, oh, John, you don't know. You don't know my life history. You don't know the succession of failures and of brokenness. No, I don't. But I know God. I know God, who is the Creator, who made your life, and who will, if you will let him, break through in a new thing. God can do a new thing in your church. God can do a new thing in this camp. God can do a new thing in our world. Oh, for people who have the gleam of newness in their eyes. Oh, for people who are only locked into one thing, devotion to the faithful, merciful, loving Creator, and are committed to follow his footsteps wherever they go. Oh, you see, our nation was founded by people who believed that God wasn't locked in. Were all of the early fathers and mothers of this nation evangelical believers? By no means. But for all of them, even a Jefferson, who rewrote the Bible to get rid of all the miracles, even a Jefferson believed that the Creator of this universe, read the Declaration of Independence, has given his people capacities to transcend their limits, to transcend the boxes in which this world would shut them. That thing was written through all of our forefathers and foremothers. And we've lost it or are losing it because we are buying back in to the pagan idea that this world is all there is. And that what my grandmother did now conditions me forever, and I can never be any different. You remember the old story. The guy says, I don't believe in that pre-birth conditioning. Why, when my mother was carrying me, she dropped a whole stack of records, and it didn't affect me. How easily we come to buy that garbage. And there's no help for me. There's no hope for me. I'm just going to have to live in this broken groove forever and forever. It's not so. God can do a brand new thing. And the day came when every one of Isaiah's predictions came true. And the Emperor Cyrus came to the throne, destroyed the Babylonian Empire, and set the people free. But only a very small group went home. Why? Oh, they had settled down. They had settled down into the Babylonian routine. They had acquired so many toys they couldn't leave them. They were so convinced that God could not ever do a new thing that when He did it, they didn't have the eyes to see it and jump into it. Oh God, give us the eyes and the heart and the mind to know that You are the Creator who is unlimited, who can do a brand new thing in your life and in mine. 4 years ago, I spoke on this text to the fall retreat of the seminary where I was teaching. And when I finished, one of the faculty members and his wife came up to me, and they had sparkling smiles. You know what a sparkling smile is, don't you? One that shines through the tears. And I was almost certain what they were going to talk about, and I was right. Their daughter, 35 years old, in college, had lost her faith. She married a Jewish man. And all their attempts to build bridges had been rebuffed. And they came up to me and said, "Thank you. Thank you for reminding us God can do a new thing. We're believing Him for a new thing. We don't know what it's going to look like, but we're believing Him for a new thing. Thank you." 6 months later, in one of our Monday morning faculty prayer meetings, the faculty member got up and said, "Yesterday morning, as I stood up to preach in a local church where he was a guest for that day, I looked out in the congregation, and there sat my daughter and her husband." He said, "As far as I know, that was the first time he had ever been inside the doors of a Christian church." He said, "I'll tell you, I had a little trouble getting started." He said, "At the end of the service, I stood at the door, and they came, and he said, my son-in-law wrung my hand. And my daughter stood on tiptoe and whispered in my ear, 'Daddy, I'm on my way home.'" Now you need to know, there's a reason why they were there. The husband had contracted a rare form of cancer. Now you say, do you think God sent him that cancer? No, I don't. But I do know God used it. And God was doing a new thing in their lives. He had brought them to the place where they had not expected to come, and there to see face to face the emptiness of this world with its gods of nature and psychology and society. And to see that if there was any hope for them ever to break out of this endless, meaningless round, it was to find the face of the faithful, holy, merciful Creator who can do a new thing. You say, how long will I have to wait for my new thing? I haven't the foggiest idea. I just know that the young lions will hunger and thirst and faint. But they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall soar like an eagle. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. Behold, I am doing a new thing. Do you not know it? Let's pray. O Lord Jesus, we look at Eastern Europe and see something that just 2 years ago we would have said is impossible in a century. And yet, within the space of 24 months, you have shivered an empire to dust. We look in so many other places and see your new thing. We see the Christian churches which monstrous force had done everything in its power to crush, rising with songs of triumph from the blood and the dust. Oh, Jesus, forgive us for our little faith. Forgive us for allowing ourselves to become locked in by the gods of this world. Oh, you are the Creator. We testify to it and rejoice in it. You are the faithful one, the merciful one, the holy one. Give us as individuals the daring to believe you for new things in our own personal lives, in our relationships, for new things in our vision, for new things in our faith. Give us, O Lord, new things in our churches. Give new things in this camp. O Lord, preserve all that is beautiful and good and glorious here. Preserve the hopes and the dreams of those high-collared, long-dressed saints. And preserve it for an age that we cannot even imagine its characteristics. Do a new thing. And we'll thank you. In your name, amen. As we close, I suspect there are some who would like to say, Lord, forgive me for my little vision. I'm believing you for a new thing. Give me eyes to see what you're doing. If that's your prayer, that's what these benches are for, a place to meet God, to go on record and say, yes, I need God to do a new thing in my life, and I'm believing him to do it. Bill, what should we say?
God can do anything, anything, anything. God can do anything but fail. He's the Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. He's the fairest of 10,000 to my soul. Page 247.